For the compound inequalities homework. Let's get started with problem number 1 here. So when we graph this, first thing we want to look for is if it has the word and or in it. That's going to be pretty important. Based off of that word, we might have no solution or infinite solutions. So pay extra close attention to this, and early on, this will tell you pretty much whether or not these inequality graphs are going to connect into a line segment or diverge into two rays. All right, then I copy down my inequality with some space here. I want to isolate the variable. I'm just going to deal with this first one by itself. This n is being divided by 4, so I get rid of that with the times 4. Got to do that to both sides. And I get that n is less than or equal to 4. Keep the word and in the middle here. Let's copy down this next one. Negative 1 plus n is greater than or equal to negative 1. I add 1 to both sides. And I get that n is greater than or equal to 0. So and tells me that these should connect. And if they don't, I want to go back and double check my work before I declare that this has no solution. All right. This has the or equal to part, so I go to 4 and make a closed dot. Arrow is going to the left because that matches the direction that this inequality is facing. But I don't add the little arrow part yet. I go over to this one and graph it first. N is greater than or equal to 0. Closed dot at 0. Arrow going to the right. We see these do connect, which is what and type should do. And now we're done. We've made a line segment. It's got the right ends. Let's move on. Number 2 is a good or problem. It's got the word or in the middle. We expect these to not connect like this, but to separate. And if they do connect, then our answer is actually all real numbers. But we're expecting them to separate 9 times out of 10. That's what's going to happen. If it doesn't, we go back and double check before we declare all real numbers. All right, so just dealing with one half at a time. I want to move my constant away from the variable. I get x is less than negative 3. You can go ahead and graph that right now if you want. Open circle at 3 because it doesn't have the or equal to. Arrow going off to the left. Now let's deal with the second half. Negative 5 plus x is greater than or equal to negative 5. Constants on both sides. We want to move them away from the variable. We get x is greater than or equal to 0. So closed dot at 0, arrow going to the right, and the arrows are going apart, which is what we expected. Let's keep that word or in between. That's part of our solving, because it's not just graph. When we solve it, is where we simplify it down to these inequalities with only one variable. So we have another couple ands. I'll do number 3 because I see this negative here. It's going to cause us to do something. So I have 2x is greater than or equal to negative 8. Divide both sides by 2. You get that x is greater than or equal to negative 4. Closed dot at negative 4. Arrow coming this way. Let's deal with the second half. Negative x is greater than or equal to negative 2. Got to get rid of that coefficient, so I divide both sides by negative 2. But this is the first time this has happened in this worksheet. We divided by a negative right here, so the inequality flips direction. It goes from pointing to the right to now pointing to the left. And we get x is less than or equal to 1. So I go to 1, make a closed dot there. Arrows coming this way, arrows coming this way, and they connect into a line segment, as we know and types tend to do. Okay, let's do the last 2. Something's a little bit different here. I don't see the word and or. I just see that I have 2 inequalities in one line. That's an automatic and. So I don't have to even write the word and. The only way this can be true is if both are true at the same time, with this middle quantity being bigger than the one to the left and smaller than the one to the right. So when I go to solve this, I'm going to copy down the far left side. I'm going to copy down the inequality. And I'm going to copy down the whole middle. And that's just one inequality that I have to solve. Then I'm going to repeat the middle. Negative 16x minus 19, making sure to get the whole thing that's in the middle here. I want from here over. for this next inequality is less than 2 minus 15x. All right, variables on both sides, we'll move the smaller one. I consider the 16x to be smaller because you'd rather be in debt $15 than be in debt $16. So we get positive x minus 20, it's less than negative 19. Add 20 to both sides, we get that x is less than 1. And, got to keep the word and, let's come solve this. Again, the negative 16 is the smaller one. We got variables on both sides, got to move them. Negative 19 is less than 2 plus x. Constants on both sides, got to move it. Negative 21 is less than x, but I want x to be on the left-hand side, so I switch it around, and my inequality switches to. Circle this. All right. Open circle at 1. This counts by 2's, so that open circle goes kind of in between. Here, let me clean that up. Open circle at 1, arrow going to the left. Open circle at negative 21, just past the negative 20, arrow going to the right. And this is going to connect up like we know and types like to do. All right, I'll call that good for this one. And have a good rest of your day.